Don't take that.
My back's right there, okay?
Everybody's joining me now. Did I send you guys all in here? All the three of you. All right, good. Well, I'm going to move and you guys sit down. Grab a microphone, turn it on. Looks like we're doing this in the reverse order. I have Ryan Scott Green, Michelle Clooney, and Robert Gant.
Yes.
So great to have you all. Grab microphones. Oh, let me go get the one off the end for you.
I got it.
Sure. So it's question time again here. You've had lunch to get some food and think of some good questions. Okay, who's got a good question for one of these three?
Hello.
Do you want to go round people up and bring them in here?
Hell yes.
Come on, bring it. Hell yeah, go get him.
We've sent our messenger, Ryan Scott Green.
That's
Now
right,
he's
Scott
got
Green
the-
here, jumping on the round of them people.
Oh, here comes Tom. Look, it worked. Did you all get your photos taken with all of these wonderful actors? Fine? Okay, who's got a good question for us? Let's start out. Okay, you, I'm sorry, you the stripes?
It's gonna be fantastic.
Hi.
I have a question for Ryan. If you had more time with your character on the show, what would you have liked them to delve into regarding your character? Like what aspects of your life, or your character's life,
It's so interesting because I'm sitting with these two for the majority of the day, and a lot of the questions are coming, and they're very character-driven and script-driven, and I guess the big difference that I had with my character is in a shorter arc, it's pretty directed where it is it's going, and how I'm supposed to react, whereas these guys had a much bigger time span to develop and create. And, my purpose there was pretty plain to see. But having said that, I thought where he could come from, what his history was. There were obviously some similarities that they played on between Brandon and Brian. It'd be interesting for me to see how similar through the past and into our childhoods, and maybe they delve into that. Obviously based on kind of where the story was going, I would always have loved to see where we were going after that. But I know we touched on my business life slightly in one episode. It would have been nice to know where I was coming from, or where they thought I was coming from. I had my own little ideas, but just kind of my history was probably what they thought, where I was going to come from. Big question.
I love how intimate this conversation is.
Yeah. We're all going to whisper because Ryan whispers. I have a question, Ryan, about that same thing for you. When you got cast in Queer as Folk, what information did you have about your character at the time you got cast? What did they tell you the character was going to be?
Okay, so I touched on this in the meet and greet, and I'll kind of go over it quickly here. I auditioned here in LA and sent a tape off to Toronto. It was probably one of the weirdest, most fast-paced things I've ever done. I got 2 pages. My agent called me at work and said, I need this by tonight. Now, this is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Toronto's 3 hours ahead. I'm at work. So I called a friend who had a camera. We put it on tape. I literally stood there in front of the camera and read my audition, very much like this. And I smiled a bunch, and I tried to make, and maybe a month and a half later, I get a call from Toronto saying, your first choice. And I'm like, for what? They were like, Queer as Folk. I'm like, I don't remember doing that. And then the next thing you know, 2 days later, I'm sitting in the Showtime offices being approved, and then at that point, I sat down with Dan and Ron. Yes, Dan and Ron. And that is when they told me, because literally my audition, like I said, was 2 pages long, and what I did at Showtime was probably only a page longer than that. So there was really no And let's be honest, the reason I was at Showtime was they had to do an approval on my physical presence, meaning I had to take my clothes off.
Did you really? Wow.
Well, they
You took your clothes
Well,
off?
my shirt. It was a.
You didn't get paid for that?
It was a.
No,
I
You
can't get
didn't
paid
know.
for it.
It's funny, they were gonna do that with me too, but then
You gotta take your clothes off too?
it was up at the studio, and then I remembered it was the final thing. No, sorry, no. Okay, never mind.
Wait a
No, I want to hear this. The only reason I didn't have to is that Sheila said, "No, don't you remember we saw his tape with the Friends thing on it?" I'm like, well, that was a few years ago. I figured, thank God
Were
that
you
we
naked
take it
in
off now.
Friends? Were you naked in Friends?
No, I was shirtless.
Oh, you're shirtless. Okay.
Yeah. Well, back to Ryan. Back to Ryan.
To make it less dirty, it was a body test. They wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything, you know.
Make it dirty.
That's hot. Huh?
They wanted to. There was a
I want to
conference
see you for something
table.
later on.
There- oh.
Alright. And we need to see you naked.
There's we're doing some casting later for an independent feature.
It's at we don't have a production office yet. It's my den.
Then at the 4 points.
I'll email you the script. After the cocktail reception.
Perfect. That's all right. There we go. So,
Back to the serious conversation.
I'm not even reading on that one. So I sat with Dan and Ron after Showtime approved me, and that is when I got the full explanation. They told me I hadn't read a script, I hadn't read anything, and that's when they told me everything that was going on, what this character was going to do, how it was all going to unfold, and you know, and I think I mentioned this to you before. There was not a hesitation, but I knew so little that I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I met Dan and Ron, and it was that meeting that kind of, sorry, they're great guys, and I never felt more comfortable about doing whatever it was they said after that.
We have a question from the audience for Michelle or Robert or Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for Robert then. Oh, you do good.
So Robert is Brandon is now. He's still the king of Babylon.
Yeah, what's going on with him?
How many years has it been? I think 5 years was the cycle, right?
5 years.
Yeah.
So many things wrong for you.
Look, I mean, to stay true. To stay true, I mean, and I kind of agreed with how they. Is that a microphone?
It's a horrible.
It's okay. You're in the middle.
Won't go out for his rodeo. Stop it!
Rodeo. Save a horse. I'm sorry. What was the question? So I agree. Look, I love the arc. I love the story. I love the cycle of the show. And to be honest, I can't think of anything better than to have, you know, what Brandon was going to go through and encounter in his life is going to be very similar, very, very, you know, alongside the arc. And he very clearly wanted to lead the life that we saw for 5 great seasons, the Brian leading, and he probably did so, and on his own terms and in his own situation. But, you know, it's a, look, cyclical. Cyclical. So at some point he had to hand it over, and whether he did so willingly, I don't know if, I'd like to think he was intelligent about it, but, you know, maybe we'll. No more bets. I mean, not for something so, maybe not a serious bet, but just for fun, maybe. You know, movie, independent movies, things like that.
I think your next bet may be with Michelle.
I'm so bad. A horrible question.
Questions? Anybody? Sure.
The funniest thing. Oh, so it wasn't supposed to be funny. God. There's so many things. I mean, we had a lot of funny moments that were just odd, that you never thought you'd be doing in your entire life. I remember I had to go down on, my character had to go down on Taya's character, and I was pregnant, and I had this big belly. We were trying to figure out how to make that look real with the belly, and that I'd have to be naked. I mean, just like weird things that you're like, I've never thought I'd be talking about this in a serious manner, you know? But just very odd experiences. I remember the scene where they called us in on a Saturday, and they wanted us to do a very over-the-top sexual scene. And I think, well, I keep mentioning sexual things because that was our way of getting through it. You know, we would just laugh, and you know, of course, it's uncomfortable. It's odd. It's not normal to be doing that in front of so many, you know, people who you pretty with, and you know, it's odd. So Kay and I used to really, on those days, we would really take care of each other in many ways. You know, whether it was like just covering each other up and saying, I feel fat today, or I feel strange today, or I feel really vulnerable today, or you know, we'd use humor and kindness to get through it, and it always worked. I remember the Saturday we had to go in and shoot this, like, the network wanted us to do a really sexy sex scene. You know, and ours were very loving and tender and intimate, so we just went for it. I mean, we went so over the top. And I remember I was dating this really sweet actor from Montreal. We ended up dating for 5 years, and his name was Stuart, and I hadn't met his dad yet. And that scene, that over-the-top sex scene, I guess the first time he saw me on Queer as Folk, he turned on his TV set, and it was that over-the-top sex scene where I have a vibrator that I'm sucking on, and I'm doing all this stuff, and he said, yeah, I saw your girlfriend on TV. Oh boy, that's some show, you know. It was this over-sexed sex scene that we were doing basically for the, you know, head of Showtime.
That wasn't the
that
rape
was my
sex
introduction
scene, was it,
to
Michelle?
parents.
That wasn't rape sex.
No, that was
That wasn't
not
the
what I
rape
threw
sex
on the
scene.
table. No, it wasn't what I threw on the table. So, those days were funny. And then there was always the group scenes that were really funny. But, and then one day, you know, you just do silly things when you're working long days. I brought the fart thing to work. And I'm such a teenage boy. And I was like, dude, yeah, you know the squishy stuff? The whoopee cushion, and I brought that into the makeup trailer, and I just went on and on. I was trying to fool everybody, and it was just ridiculous. So I would just do whatever I had to get through the days and make it fun, and lighten things up when you need to. But yeah.
I remember just like you were saying that kind of some of the lighthearted like little bits that just kind of popped into mind. I remember just like the one scene, and they're not that funny necessarily, but they were fun to do. The one scene when the Republican ladies were canvassing and you know and I like, honey, could you come to the door? And Michael comes, and just like the delight of you know that reaction. That was one that I remember. I also remember doing the scene where Hunter comes out to us as straight, and the level of challenge that we went through. Like, okay, honey, we can deal with it. You know, our child is straight. It's okay. You know? And that was just a fun one to do, and yeah.
I got one for you, shrimp ball. Shrimp ball is one of my favorite
yeah.
scenes. It will always be one of my favorite scenes. I laugh so many times every time I think, I love that scene. I love the way it was written, and I just love when I turn around and I'm like, do you want a shrimp ball? I just love it. I love that scene, and I thought that was one of the first times you got to see Melanie's humor. And I think she's very, very funny. So it was nice when that came up, because the first season was really intense for me.
Well, anybody?
Right.
Questions?
Anyone?
Wave your hands high.
Anyone? Rachel?
Michelle,
Right.
is there anything you can tell us yet about the film you're working on?
Well, I can tell you something without giving it away. It's a little bit of Precious meets Thelma and Louise meets The Accused. It's a female chick flick. Can you tell?
Michelle, it's like rape plus rape plus rape.
It deals with rape, yeah. It deals with rape.
Is there rape?
Obviously, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it opens with that, yeah. And I had some really good guidance. I have someone guiding me, and I think it's shaping up, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, me too.
Questions, folks? Questions?
Do you have one already?
I have a question. Yes, I do. I have questions for everybody. For you, Robert. Now, when you obviously you're a gay man, you were not out when Queer as Folk started.
What? Yeah.
Are you
Sorry, I knew you
did I
guys
stop
know
you?
that.
We
Well,
are over.
Oh,
I am.
shit.
It's okay.
Years.
I'm proud.
I never thought that would happen.
Okay.
All the
Yes.
And mostly before Queer as Folk, you played a lot of hunky straight guys.
Yeah, it's still most of what I play.
So when your agent first told you about Queer as Folk, was there ever a minute where you thought, I absolutely shouldn't do this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was that, a long time ago I heard the litmus test for knowing you're in the right place is that you're both scared and excited at the same time. And that's exactly how I felt. I felt terrified. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do that. Oh my God, nothing would excite me more. And that's what it was. And it's like, because I think when you're scared, if you're not a little afraid, then you're not pushing outside of your comfort zone. And I was definitely pushing outside my comfort zone, even though that's a life that I knew in so many ways, so many aspects of it. It was just like, bam. But not, that publicly. And not like, okay, let's really let everyone see. And that's part of the whole thing about coming from where I came from and being gay was, you hide that. You do not let that be seen. And that's something, it's funny, somebody was saying, I would never know you're gay. And I'm like, well, you obviously don't know me that well because, there are plenty of things that would tip it off. But it's because at a very, very early age, I started figuring out how to hide that. How do I need to speak so that you don't know? What do I need to do? Okay, I'll play football. Okay, I'll, do all the things to keep that from happening. So to have that, I remember staring at that breakdown and that character description, and it was like I could feel the lump in my throat, and I could feel the excitement.
Now, did your agent at the time know that you were gay?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. So everyone in your life knew. So he knew that.
It was just on set. I remember being on Caroline in the City. It was funny. It was Valentine's Day, and we were back by the craft service, and this actress was hitting on me. So we have Valentine's Day, and I was totally in the closet. I remember being on Veronica's Closet, and Kirstie Alley was being really flirtatious. She was single at that point, and somebody saying, kind of checking you. And it's just that whole cycle of hiding, on that level. And it was painful because I hated it, and yet I felt scared. I did. Because
You had a lot to lose. Because
or at least that was the perception.
Well, that's the fear. Everybody feels that's the perceptive fear of that. Yes.
What I really had was everything to gain. What I really had to gain was my freedom and my self-love, my self-worth, and a life beyond my imagining.
So I think for you, it was.
My reps said, yeah, don't come out.
What?
My reps definitely.
Oh, I'm sure.
Definitely, that whole
so
thing.
for you, Queer as Folk was kind of doubly important because not only were you a part of the show that was so important for the world that you were all a part of, but for you it was your first time of freedom too. So you were sort of on this sort of renegade rogue show while you were discovering being out for the first time, and that's kind of scary plus scary.
Yeah, I think on some level.
And exciting plus exciting.
Totally exciting, and I think the saying yes to it at the beginning is knowing, okay, here we go. I may wrestle with it along the way, but it's going to happen ultimately. This is by saying yes, you're saying yes.
Yeah.
And
so was your decision? Did you know right away when you took the role you were going to come out?
Well, I did. I just didn't know what it was going to look like.
Right.
I just didn't know the how of it, and that's what I really wrestled over. Like, what does one do? Because at the time, the only thing they really had were those coming out articles.
Sure.
I actually wanted to write it in my own words because I wanted to share my own experience. Rather than have somebody kind of filter it through their own interpretive,
The TV guide cover with who's on, gay.
And again, you're not giving deference to something that was so important to me that I'd wrestled with my whole life. But ultimately, we made the decision to do that cover on the Advocate. I was working with a publicist who had been in charge of doing Ann and Ellen's coming out, Rupert Everett and Nathan Lane, and he said, I think that's really the best way to go. What's interesting is he's now married or partnered with Matt Bomer, and
Simon?
Yeah. And reps like Neil Patrick Harris. And I remember when when he was coming out, we talked about it, and then this sort of shift happened along the way of like, do we really make it such a big deal? At some point, that whole cover article thing kind of, went away.
Yeah.
And it became, what's the most non-coming out we can do,
But I think your story around the show is so beautiful that I think if you ever write a book, then it would be wonderful. I think it would be an inspiration to gay people everywhere that come from smaller places and come from places where it's a great story. And you handled it beautifully, became a role model to so many people.
Thanks, Sheena, I appreciate it.
I think you're wonderful.
I feel blessed.
Anybody have I got so touched I turned off my mic, Robert. Anybody have a question right there in the second row?
So, you guys, I was going to know your mission pride and how old were you when you first pride? Pride parade?
Oh, Pride? Michelle, have you been to Pride?
Oh, I've been to Pride. I've been to a lot of Prides. I just can't remember. Like, it all kind of blends. My first Pride? It might have been right after we shot the first season of Queer as Folk, and Tay and I went to New York Pride, and that was incredible. That was an incredible.
My first Pride was, I think, in Tampa, Florida when I was 17.
And these girls right here, oh, they went to Pride last night in LA.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they have their Pride bags and everything. We were talking while you were taking group photos. Ryan, have you been to a Pride?
The first Pride I'm straight, so that doesn't make a difference, but I want to say that before I answer this question. The first Pride I walked into by mistake. It was here.
I was sort of thinking we were the world's worst gay man.
Well,
Where are you, girlfriend?
Well, it was here. It was here. I couldn't tell. It was a few years back, but I was in West Hollywood on I think it was a Thursday night, drinking, just doing whatever, and I woke up on Friday morning, decided to go down and grab a coffee, and there was something going on, and I was like, what's going on? And finally, someone clued me in. This was long before Queer as Folk too, so I was clueless, basically. I think I went to one. I think pretty much West Hollywood, the LA ones. I went to Toronto one year. Again, I don't remember that year either. What year it was? I remember it. I'm gonna stop.
Looks like you're doing more than marathons, Ryan.
I think I went to New York Pride one year when I was in my 20s, but you know what? It's like when the year that I went with Taya, we rode the float, and I remember she and I had this sisterhood, solidarity feeling, and there's a picture of us going like this next to each other, and that's why I teared up, because it's just a moment. You have those moments where you remember forever and ever. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment.
Yeah, I remember in the middle of the show doing
That's
the New York
right.
Pride. Did you go to the New York Club? We were on that float. That was unbelievable.
We were all on the float.
To look down and see
Yeah.
that many people,
Yeah.
I just never experienced anything like that. The voices went on and on. The level of enthusiasm, at the time, just.
And there was a group of girls who supported Tay and I from the very beginning, and they started flying up to Toronto, and they were our very first fans, and we invited them to go on the float with us. We just said, hey, you want to show up and hang out on the float? And so they did. And it was, it was just really cool. It was really cool.
Awesome. Anybody have a question? Wendy?
What's your impression of have we moved in the last 12 months forward, backwards?
Michelle?
Well, I think we've made great progress. I think this, I gotta tell you, most of my friends are gay, and I think that I am so moved and inspired by this community. It's gone so fast in 40 years, faster than any community, that it's almost breathtaking to witness. The fact that we're waiting to hear on DOMA and Prop 8 and that it's right around the corner. I mean, it's so close you can taste it. And I know it's always going to be a struggle. And I know that, like Coretta Scott King says, I always quote this, and I know I quote it constantly, but that equality is earned with every generation, that it's never truly just given. You have to constantly fight for it, and then you have to fight to maintain it. And that's very true. But I just feel like we've made such great progress, and it's beautiful to see.
I also think, I appreciate the perspective of it as struggle. I also feel like it's not a bad thing to reframe that and see that forward progress is never a straight line, straight so to speak. I remember a therapist once, she talked about getting from A to B, right? And she said, there's a straight line, but really most of the time it looks like this, and she drew this whole thing, and she kind of did all this, and then you get here. And then she said, actually, it kind of looks like a flower. And I think what I love is that's really what the unfolding of life looks like. It's very organic, and it's very unpredictable, and eventually we get there. And there's no question we're getting there. I think everything that we're doing externally is very important. I absolutely believe that the greatest thing we do and continue to do is to stand more fully in the truth of who we are, the wholeness of who we are as individuals, and that's no matter what walk of life we're in, but certainly, from the standpoint of talking about gay people, because as you stand in that truth, it just resonates out, and then there's not even the prospect of accepting the idea that those sorts of things can really perpetuate, and you take the action you need to take, but it always starts as that inside job first, and sometimes you just act as if and do your best on the outside, but yeah, it's inevitable. The progress is extraordinary.
Light years. I think we take a lot of it for granted, but when you look back 10 years ago, you think of just the way we see the world and the way the world is shaped and changed. It's been tremendous. There's still a lot to do. And
when I was a little boy in the 70s, I remember I dreamed the idea of getting married, and I just assumed, okay, so I'm gonna marry a woman and I'm gonna pretend that I'm straight so I can have kids. And I remember trying to think what that would look like, trying to imagine, because I couldn't even imagine the life of the kind of life I live today, or what would ultimately be possible. And then at some point I remember growing a little older and thinking, well, okay, no, I'll find a woman who's lesbian, and we'll get married, we'll pretend that we'll have a family, and just the progression of those things. And then at the point at which I thought, well, no, I'm not going to pretend at all. By that point I realized I'd met people. At that point I knew no one in my life who was gay. I had no idea who else existed. And just to see my own progression, we each have our own version of what that looks like. And then the point at which I realized, oh, I'm going to be able to marry someone that I love at some point soon. And then it became we did it on the show, and I was like, oh wow, this shit's really happening. And Cisco was happening, and Massachusetts was happening, and it's actually been really pretty rapid and extraordinary.
The momentum is really amazing.
Ryan, how about for you? Because you've been involved with AIDS Project Los Angeles and the AIDS Run for a very long time. So how have you seen the community grow since you first got involved in that?
For me, it's I feel like we're better at identifying things. We're so far ahead than I think most of the rest of the world. We do well on this continent, Canadian, American. We still, like you say, we still have a long way to go, but we're so much better at identifying the problems and dealing with them. I know you, and possibly you as well, the Trevor Project. What a great organization to help educate and prevent. And going back to AIDS Project Los Angeles, again, another amazing organization. Not an AIDS research, but an AIDS services. So people living with HIV and AIDS in Los Angeles receiving direct treatment. Things that they need. They can't always go to the dentist, so they provide them with dental care. This is the organization that I've been involved with for a while. It's the identification of the problems and the ability to bring them to awareness of kind of the everyday life of people, because I think for so long things were tucked away and hidden away and brushed under things, and how can you possibly deal with things on a minority level when if everybody is aware and everybody has the proper facts, things get dealt with more intelligently and for the greater good. And that, I think, is where I've seen the biggest difference is more people taking responsibility for their actions in and outside of the communities that they live in.
Let's give a nice round of applause for all of these wonderful actors. Truly amazing. And for you, thank you all for the wonderful questions. We're taking a 5-minute break, and then we're going to be back, and I'm going to have Peter Page and Scott Lowell here, and we're just going to keep rolling on. Rise and Shine USA.